Welcome back to Valencia for round 6 of the Ferrari Challenge. It is race 2 for the TropheoPirelli cars, which are on grid right now for the second of their two 35-minute races. And at the front row is Bjorn Grossman and Babylos. We'll get to the grid in a moment, but as you can see, we're here in Valencia. It's round 6, having been to Monza, Mugello, Hungaroring, Paul Ricard and Imola, with the world final still to come, that huge event in Mugello. Find out more at races.corsaclienti.com or races.ferrari.com. And we look at the back end of the grid, and Tommaso Rocca there. This is where we are then. And there, the website address at the bottom of that graphic, races.ferrari.com. The flag tells us that we are in Spain at Valencia. With the sun beating down and some harmless high cloud and a reasonable temperature here, conditions absolutely perfect around this 4-kilometer circuit, this twisty, turny Valencia circuit, which is very technical and very hard for the drivers to overcome. And overtaking is at a premium, and the best parts for overtaking turn 1 and out of turn 14 as well. So as you can see, 24 degrees is the air temperature, track temperature of some 35 degrees. And going into this, Bjorn Grossman, our pole sitter, well, in a very, very good position to take the championship with run complete round still to go. Big crowd here to enjoy the racing from the Ferrari Challenge this weekend. In particular today, the sun has brought the spectators to this Riccardo Tormo circuit. And there, the grid in full. Final row belonging to Alexis Di Bernardi and Tommaso Rocca. We look at our pole sitter here, Bjorn Grossman, driving for the Octane 126 team. And his quali time of 1:36.110 was sufficient to put him on pole position. It's another pole position for Bjorn Grossman. And Babylos, who with a penalty was relegated to the back of the grid yesterday, but scythed through the pack to finish P2, starts from P2 today. And there he is with final preparations. It's Matteo Santaporte is his name, but uses Babylos as a nickname that was used by his father before him, and Babylos continuing with that as we see the grid there and the teams assembled. Let's take a look at the area of Valencia. So just a little taster of the architecture in Valencia City, and of course the backdrop of this fantastic circuit and all the Ferrari things that have been happening here across the course of this weekend. P4 is Florian Merckx. You can see him there in the cockpit of the car. Alongside him is Philippe Baron, multi-champion, of course, in the Ferrari Challenge, and now team manager. Max Blancardi will go from P3. Another former multi-champion, Max Blancardi, hugely experienced, and he's feeling the heat. What can Max Blancardi do from P3? Well, time will tell. He's also being run by the Octane 126 team, which is engineering the pole-sitting car, and has engineered to Bjorn Grossman to such success over the course of this season. There is the grid in full. Grossman and Babylos, P1 and P2. Then we see Max Blancardi and Florian Merckx on the second row of the grid, going from P3 and P4. Kirill Ladyshin then is P5 with David Gosner. 1/4 of the 4 Gosner members that race in the Ferrari Challenge, but 3 of them race in the Copa Shell. He goes from P6. Then it's Alessandro Vezzoni and Martin Nelson together on row 4, which is critical because they are together in the AM Championship as well. And it's Alexis Di Bernardi and Tommaso Rocca bringing up the rear of the grid. So we have pro drivers and AM drivers across the grid of this Ferrari Challenge, as we look at Kirill Ladyshin, who is a pro driver. But as I mentioned, the AM drivers, Alessandro Vezzoni and also Martin Nelson fighting tooth and nail in the championship at the moment, with Nelson leading in that championship by just 3 points over Alessandro Vezzoni. Vezzoni had a good result yesterday by taking P1, and Martin Nelson P3 in the AM category of the race yesterday. So the AM championship looks like it will go all the way to Mugello. Pro Championship could be sealed today for 84 Bjorn Grossman. Alexis Di Bernardi wears our helmet camera then, as you can see him from side to side there from the back of the grid. He's going to give us some fantastic shots as he tries to make his way up the order as well. He was on the podium P2 yesterday in the AM category, and one of the tyre trolleys then with the wholly unneeded wet weather tyres being taken back to the paddock. Kirill Ladygin going from P5 then. Yesterday he finished at P4 in the race, and that gives us a good example of how downhill the start-finish straight is here. As we look on board from the Florian Merckx car being run by Baron Service, and we saw Philippe Baron alongside his driver just a few moments ago. So Ricardo Tormo, the legend then, is the name of the circuit, of course, Ricardo Tormo. And there, the Hublot safety car right at the front of the pack before the race gets underway in but a few moments from now. Beautiful backdrop, and wherever you're situated around this circuit, it's like a stadium. You really do get a fantastic vantage point for viewing all the action out there on track. It's a short lap, just 4 kilometers, but it is a very technical lap, and a lap that requires lots of concentration and lots of guts to try and put an overtake on as well. So there, the Alexis Di Bernardi car. Alexis Di Bernardi running for Kessel Racing. So race 1 yesterday went like this. As the lights went out, Bjorn Grossman did everything that he needed to do to convert that pole position into the race lead. Florian Merckx was trying very, very hard to get up the order, but in his quest to do so, he turned himself around, unfortunately, and as we can see from his onboard camera, ended up pointing in the wrong direction. Thankfully, everyone managed to avoid, and then the challenge was on for Florian Merckx to make his way up the order. The Gosner family looked on to see how David was doing, but the focus of attention clearly was going to be on this man, Babelis, who made a phenomenal start from the very, very back of the pack to end up at P2 as Bjorn Grossman led and did not put a foot wrong. David Gosner chasing down Alexis Di Bernardi, and there was Alessandro Vezzoni that was going to win the AM category. It came to the pro category, though, there was going to be no mistaking the winner who led every single lap. That would be this man, Bjorn Grossman, as he lit up the front discs to turn the final turn, turn 14, and head for yet another checkered flag for the Octane 126 engineered Bjorn Grossman. Bjorn Grossman's win yesterday made it 7 for him. Across the calendar, he's had 3 P2s and 1 non-classification. It's been a remarkable results sheet for Bjorn Grossman. As we see the grid again, Grossman and Babelis then on the front row. Then it's Blancardi and Florian Merckx. All the red P indicators on the left-hand side of that graphic indicating that the first 2 rows are all pro drivers, as indeed is row 3 with Kirill Ladygin and David Gosner. Before we get to the AMs, which is Alessandro Vezzoni and Martin Nelson, denoted by the green AM tag on the graphics, with Alexis Di Bernardi and Tommaso Rocca at the back of the pack on row 5. Well, the safety car has been released, so the cars themselves are released now on their formation lap. It's a rolling start for the Ferrari Challenge TropheoPirelli cars. And they all weave from side to side to try and generate some temperature into the Pirelli tyres. One or two will be using the left foot on the brake pedal as well to get some warmth into the brakes. The brakes form such a crucial part of the lap here at Valencia. Such a technical circuit. Some 14 turns punctuate the 4-kilometre circuit length. Max Blancardi, a returnee to the Ferrari Challenge and a welcome returnee, former champion and, of course, world champion currently. Kirill Ladygin, supported by the SMP Racing concern. Florian Merckx and David Gosner either side of Kirill Ladygin, and there is Alessandro Vezzoni. Who by about 3 points is P2 in the AM Championship. Martin Nelson having that 3-point advantage. So the cars will get into grid order behind the Hublot safety car. So it's Babylos and Bjorn Grossman, then it will be Max Blancardi and Florian Merckx before Kirill Ladygin and David Gosner. All of those 6 are pro drivers. That will be the 4 AM drivers of Vezzoni and Nelson and Di Bernardi and Thomas O'Rourke to round out this 10-strong grid of cars for this TropheoPirelli Race 2 here at the Valencia circuit. Pepe Scanetti then is our safety car driver. He will peel off into the pit lane, and then it will be down to the front row of Grossman and Babylos to control the pace of the start of this race. If the race steward is happy, then lights are shown on the left-hand side of your screen. They will go from red to green and we'll be away and racing. So Babylos will try and get the march on Bjorn Grossman here. They are absolutely side by side as they head into turn 1. Can Babylos get his nose in front? Martin Nelson trying to make a move on the very left outside. But Babylos is squeezed out by Bjorn Grossman. He's going to have to remain absolutely committed to this and try and carry the speed, and he's done it. He goes through into P1. So Babylos does get through into P1. Bjorn Grossman is P2. It's David Gosner who's making great strides on the inside as well and could take P3 before the end of the next turn. But Florian Merckx does lean on him, and Florian Merckx it is that goes through into P3. Kirill Ladygin is the loser there, down into P5. So too Max Blancardi, not able to make the progress that he would like. Oh, and it's a spin for Martin Nelson. And also out is Alessandro Vezzoni. The 2 that lead the AM Points Championships have both turned around. And it's terminal for Martin Nelson. He's out of the race. That is a disaster. Bjorn Grossman is not letting Babylos get away with this in the Pro Championship either. So Babylos leads by just 0.2 over Bjorn Grossman as they head around at turn 13 now. It's turn 14 and then the long drag downhill. And let's just see if Bjorn Grossman lines up Babylos to have a go through turn 1. I don't think it's going to be close enough, as Babylos has got his nose in front. He is going to go for the win and deny Bjorn Grossman. Did it all on the first lap. And David Gosner all over the back of Florian Merckx also, and then Kirill Ladygin. So there is Florian Merckx in the number 88 car, battling with David Gosner, and it's over the final podium place. Well, once the cars have settled down, we'll take a look at some replays. And there we can see it looks like Vezzoni is out as well. Is that Vezzoni's car on the left-hand side there, which means both Martin Nelson and Alessandro Vezzoni are out, which is both P1 and P2 in the AM Championship. Now the battle for the AM win at the moment is with Alexis Di Bernardi, as here comes Bjorn Grossman on Babylos. So it's Alexis Di Bernardi and Tommaso Rocca that will battle for the AM win. But at the moment, battling for the pro win are these two, Babylos and Bjorn Grossman. Just 2/10 between the two of them. Well, just under 3/10 between the two of them. It's nothing, absolutely nothing, as they round the final turn and head down the start-finish straight to complete another lap here. Still, David Gostner has not been able to find a way past Florian Merckx. Grossman sets the fastest lap, a 1:38.841, so marginally quicker than the Babylos car ahead of him. And these two are breaking away, as you can see, from Florian Merckx, who's busy having to defend from the attack from David Gostner. And now Kirill Ladygin with just a little bit of a touch on the back of the David Gostner car to try and make David Gostner make a mistake. And Max Blancardi's on the back of that train of cars as well. Those four cars there, as Gostner looks up the inside of Merckx, it's Gostner, it's Ladygin, and then it is Max Blancardi. Ladygin goes up the inside of Gostner. And they do touch. There's a touch between the two of them. Can Max Blancardi buy into this? Ladygin is going to have the right line, and Blancardi is trying to stay with them, but Gostner is not giving up without a chase. Ladygin goes wide, Blancardi goes through, and Gostner gets Ladygin back, but net loses one place because Blancardi is the big winner in that, as Bjorn Grossman tries to take Babylos. They touch. Bjorn Grossman just manages to hold on to it. Had to use a little bit of opposite lock to control it. But Bjorn Grossman has now taken up the lead. Can't imagine that Babylos is going to take that lying down. In the meantime, Gostner and Blancardi together here. Well, now that Grossman has got his nose in front, he's going to be very difficult to get past. But Babylos has done it once, and he will try and do it again. So through turn one they go. All very lively stuff, the opening stages of this race. The race where we've lost the AM points leaders, Martin Nelson and Alessandro Vezzoni. They both had a coming together, and they're both out of the race. So the battle for fourth position is between Max Blancardi and David Gostner, as you can see. Kirill Ladygin, who had managed to get past both of them, finds himself behind both of them now. Gostner certainly keeping Max Blancardi keen. So this was Nelson up the inside of Vezzoni, which turned Vezzoni around. He in turn clattered into Nelson. Looks to me like 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, truthfully. Martin Nelson may have gone for a gap that possibly wasn't there. And you can see the coolant going out of the Nelson car, and clearly the Vezzoni car is damaged as well. You can see that skirting. And that was Bjorn Grossman with that little tap on Babylos. So to be fair, you can see Babylos was trying to get his own back there, but there was definitely a touch between Bjorn Grossman and Babylos. Now, whether there was a touch between the two of them with the original overtake, I don't know. Certainly getting a bit physical between those two, but now Grossman has got his nose in front. He's a second up the road from Babylos now. Cars number 13 and 27, which was the AM battlers that we saw both out there, little skirmishes under investigation, as you can see on screen now. So here is Grossman that's leading, and then it is Babylos P2, both of whom are receiving a warning flag. And I suspect the reason they're receiving a warning flag will be for track limits. Black and white warning flag being shown to both cars number 55 and 84. It might not be for track limits, it might be for very physical racing. Race steward has deemed it necessary to warn them both, and they are both warned. Right, Alexis Di Bernardi then leads in the AM category with Tommaso Rocca. It'll be a pretty lonely podium in the AM category at this rate, because there's only two of them left running, and that is these two, Alexis Di Bernardi and Tommaso Rocca. Di Bernardi seems to have the pace advantage. We go on board with him now. Of course, he wears a helmet camera. Talking to him just over lunch and saying how we'd like more Ram cars to be out there, so have a better fight, truthfully. Well, whatever fight he's in, he's winning at the moment. Just through the corner of my eye from our commentary position here, right at the start, finish straight. Can just see that I think Babylos is going to fall prey to Florian Merckx shortly. We'll get to that battle in a moment, I'm sure, but we're staying on board with Alexis Di Bernardi, who wears the helmet camera and takes us for a high-speed lap around this Valencia circuit. Rounds turn 14 and heads down the start-finish straight. Sequential gearbox, of course, in these 4,400cc mid-engine Berlinetta Ferrari 458s, the Evo version with the big rear wing and the front splitter as well. Heavy braking for turn 1, just kiss the apex, and then almost inevitably you run out wide. Here's a replay of the start then, and this was Babylos getting ahead of Bjorn Grossman. And that was Florian Merckx and David Gostner getting the better of Kirill Ladygin. This is great to see in replay. Looking back now, Ladygin running out wide, and this, well, Grossman will feel that Babylos really cut across him. Been a bit physical between the two of them, but certainly isn't going to be the case now, because as you can see, Bjorn Grossman has got just under 3 seconds advantage over Babylos. Babylos is just beginning to find the all-black Florian Merckx 458 in his rear-view mirror now, and we'll have to be defending against that. That is Max Blancardi in this battle for third position. The final podium place in the pro category is between Florian Merckx and Max Blancardi, and certainly Florian Merckx is getting closer to Babylos now. And Babylos then, who over the opening 3 laps battled hard with Bjorn Grossman, has lost out in that battle, and it is Grossman that leads the race. There's Babylos heavy braking now into turn 1, Florian Merckx the same, and also Max Blancardi. Of the 3, perhaps Blancardi is looking the most lively. You see the damage on the back of the Babylos car. Having a dramatic effect perhaps on the handling of the car, but it might be costing a couple of tenths, which is why Grossman has been able to get up the road a bit. Both cars number 46 and 97, which is Thomas O'Rourke and Max Blancardi, who we can see from our onboard camera as we look back at the Max Blancardi. They're being warned about track limits at turn 14. We're on board with Florian Merckx, looking back at Max Blancardi then in this battle for P3, which at the moment is Florian Merckx's place. Max Blancardi doing his level best to unsettle him, and in turn Merckx doing his level best to try and unsettle Babylos as well. So the livery on the number 46 car, as voted for by race fans. Florian Merckx ran a competition to offer participants the opportunity to choose the livery with which he should run the car. And that was the one that won the competition, if you like. Blancardi now all over the back of him. Blancardi running in P4. You can see Merckx doing his level best to defend and try and prevent Max Blancardi from wrestling that position away from him. Both Martin Nelson and Alessandro Vezzoni have got to go and see the race stewards at the end of the race after their little skirmish right on the opening lap, which took both the cars out. Message pops up on our screen. Now, can Florian Merckx continue to defend this position from Max Blancardi wide around the outside. That isn't going to pay off, but it was more a question of him having to do that rather than pummel into the back of Florian Merckx. We just saw flashed on screen the fact that both Alessandro Vezzoni and Martin Nelson are reporting to the stewards at the end of the race. So Florian Merckx is P3, Max Blancardi is P4, and Max's harem-scarum move on Florian Merckx just a few moments ago has meant he's just lost touch a little bit with the Florian Merckx car. And this was it. He was so close, he had to dive to the outside, but he was always going to lose grip there. And just for the moment, Florian Merckx was able to breathe a sigh of relief. Blancardi is clearly the quicker of the two of them, certainly at that stage, but wasn't able to never make that move stick. So now Babylos seemingly is really quite struggling, because Florian Merckx is right on the back of Babylos now, and shaking off Max Blancardi for half a lap or so has meant that he's able to get a bit closer to Babylos ahead. Fastest lap comes from Bjorn Grossman, a 1:38.815. And now Florian Merckx has to switch from attack to defend mode once again, as Max Blancardi is right on the back of him again. And Florian Merckx is in this position where he is stuck right in the middle in P3 between Babylos P2 and Max Blancardi P4, and therefore is having to defend as well as try and attack us, both requiring of his attention, and perhaps his attention is more focused on defence than attack at the moment. There, confirmation of the fastest lap then from Bjorn Grossman, that 1:38.815. Battle damaged at the front, as you can see, the 458 of Bjorn Grossman wearing those scars from the early skirmishes with Babylos. The car certainly seems to be running okay, and has a mighty 5.3 seconds last time around over Babylos. I think that will have increased now. Yes, it does. Increases by another 0.2. It's now 5.496 as Blancardi just lines up the Florian Merckx car, and in turn Florian Merckx lines up Babylos, who still has that panel work trailing at the back of the car, which won't be helping the helping the handling of it. Babylos, of course, running out of the same stable as Martin Nelson, who is out of this race along with his championship rival Alessandro Vezzoni. We lost them both on the opening lap. Babylos very wide there, and the back end of the car stepping out a little bit, allowing Florian Merckx to get just a little bit closer, and Max Blancardi now gets even closer to Florian Merckx, and Max is just lining him up now, lighting up the brake discs under heavy braking. We look back from the Florian Merckx car to Max Blancardi as they run through turns 10 and 11 right now. Merckx down through the sequential gearbox, these mid-engine 458s. Grossman extends his margin at the front by some 6.4 seconds over Babylos, who now really is holding these two up, I think. Max Blancardi once again being warned about track limits, this time at turn 6. There you can see that on screen as well. Over the brow, downhill now into turn 1. Grossman through turn 1 already, and now Blancardi trying to dive up the inside of Florian Merckx. Didn't quite have the momentum to be able to do it, but through the speed trap he is the quickest at 235 kilometers per hour, and weaves from side to side trying to unsettle Florian Merckx. Now if he can gain traction out here and just get his nose in front of Florian Merckx, not quite. Whoa, there's contact between the two of them, and that's damaged Blancardi's car. Blancardi will be out. There's coolant going everywhere. So that little nudge between the two of them, as Blancardi, frustrated, trying to get past the Florian Merckx car, sees yet another retirement. Blancardi is out, and he will be furious with himself. This is how it happened. Just a touch on the Florian Merckx car. And you can see the liquid out of the Blancardi machine. And that means his race is all over. Slipping and sliding out onto the gravel, and that is retirement for Max Blancardi. And there is Max walking away from the car to a position of safety out of the race. Christian Hobohm looks on. So too does Christian Berchinger, the Octane 126 team boss, who's seen one of his drivers leading this race and the other driver out now. So Florian Merckx can focus on this battle on Babylos now. Just look at the damage on the rear of the Florian Merckx car, which isn't causing a problem at the moment. That bodywork is rubbing on that rear wheel. You could puncture that rear tyre. Certainly doesn't appear to be any smoke coming off it. We've got 16 minutes of the race still to run, and quite a bit of damage, isn't there, as Babylos there has to brake mid-corner. Florian Merckx is struggling because David Gosner is right on him now, so I reckon that tyre is slowly deflating. And that means that Florian Merckx is going to fall prey to David Gosner now. So there is David Gosner in the number 50 car. Well, maybe it isn't the tyre deflating. Maybe it was Merckx just making a mistake. Makes another one there, that's for sure, and that is enough to allow David Gosner to get right alongside, and that is going to mean that Gosner will go through to take up P3. Or will he? As Merckx fights back now. Well, Florian Merckx doing everything he can to make that 458 as wide as possible. And that's making it difficult for Gosner, and what also it means is that Kirill Ladygin is able to get onto the back of David Gosner now. So Florian Merckx then. And now Kirill Ladygin on the back of David Gosner. Car number 46, Max Blancardi, is another one of those that's got to join the queue to see the stewards at the end of this race. Florian Merckx back on the power again. We're on board with him as we look back at the David Gosner car and the Kirill Ladygin machine also. Here's the battle for third position, and it involves three cars now. Ladygin, Gosner and Merckx. We're on board with Ladygin, the AF Corsa driver. Team, of course, run by Amato Ferrari. Engineered so much success in GT racing. Ladygin really missing the braking point there and going out very, very wide. Whatever issue Florian Merckx had for a few moments seems to have gone away. It's also gone away is our race leader, Babylos, who is now 10.5 seconds up the road. 10.5 seconds. Well, Babylos with his trailing panel work remains in P2, albeit 10.5 seconds down on our race leader. And this then was Merckx and Gosner side by side, and Merckx running out wide, and then able to carry the momentum. And that slungshot him really back ahead of David Gosner. And there is Max Blancardi, who's retired to the Octane 126 pit wall. His race done and dusted. Gosner once again just tries to step up the ante to Florian Merckx. Try and wrestle that P3 away. At the moment, Merckx really has got the measure of him, though. So whatever issues he had but a couple of laps ago seem to have gone away. Here's Kirill Ladygin, who's on the back of that train of 4 cars, if you like. Those 4 cars being Babylos in P2, Merckx in P3, then it's Gosner in P4. And this is Kirill Ladygin that we're on board with in P5. But this is our race leader, Bjorn Grossman, who completes another lap and increases the margin over Babylos to some 12.1 seconds. 12.1 seconds. There you go. You can see it on screen and how over the last 3 laps he's just increased that margin by initially a second, then a second and a half, and then another second and a half. Extraordinary driving from the German Bjorn Grossman on his way to the TropheoPirelli Championship for 2015, have no doubt. But the race is not over yet, still 11 minutes to run. In the AM category, it's P1 and P2 for Alexis Di Bernardi and Tommaso Roca. They're split by a second and a half, as you can see. The Kessel driver, Di Bernardi, the Rosso Corsa driver, Tommaso Roca. So both Ladygin and Gosner being warned about track limits excursions. There's Di Bernardi, who we are on board with now. Rounds turn 11. Puts his foot back on the gas again. Next turn you see is turn 12. Herreros, which is almost, but not quite flat, before you get into this long sweeping left-hander, which is turn 13. Before heavy braking for the left-hander, which is Adrian Campos, the final turn on the circuit. So, super slow-mo of our leader in the pro category, with the battle-weary front end, and a super slow-mo of our AM leader, with really rather less damage to the front end. It's Bjorn Grossman leading in the pro category and Alexis Di Bernardi leading in the AM category. Still Babylos is being able to hold on to that P2 position from Florian Merckx, with under 10 minutes left to run. Can Babylos hold on for the remaining laps? Can Florian Merckx hold on? Or can David Gosner? All 4 of them quite close here. Kirill Ladygin try and get the march now as they head towards turn 11. Far from the easiest place to overtake on this circuit, that's for sure. But if Kirill Ladygin can absolutely stick with David Gosner here, well, not going to try a daredevil move around turn 13, but it could put him in a good place off the back of turn 14 to give David Gosner a run for it down the home straight. So around the Campos turn they go. Don't think Ladygin is close enough, or is he? They all hug the pit wall as they run down the home straight. Turn 1 is the left-hander. Neither Ladygin nor Merckx are close enough to be able to just try and take a sneaky look up the inside, all carrying too much speed and just not able to do it. Ladygin and Merckx are the 2 of these 4 that look the most lively at the moment, as Florian Merckx really is on the back of Babylos now, and this is Ladygin, who we're on board with, also on the back now of David Gosner. And through the windscreen we can see Gosner runs just a little bit wide. Lady Jin not close enough to be able to put his nose into the gap, but Florian Merckx is certainly harrying Babalus ahead. Lady Jin with a bold and ambitious move there that was never going to work, but David Gosner ran wide as well. And that allowed both Babalus and Merckx just to escape for a moment. And now Florian Merckx, has he managed to get right alongside Babalus? I think he has. And this could be it for Florian Merckx. He could go through after lap, and David Gosner is having a go as well, and Kirill Ladygin will also try and buy into it. Babalus has got a problem. Now, I would think it's bodywork related, and potentially or possibly that's caused a problem to one of the tyres, but can't be the case because all of a sudden he's coming back now. It was just a mistake from Babalus, which is rare, has to be said. You can see that bodywork trailing at the back of the car. It's trailing behind the rear wheel. But he has lost out a huge lump of places there, because it's now Florian Merckx P2, David Gosner P3, and Kirill Ladygin P4. Within the last 6 minutes of the race duration still to come. And that was Kirill Ladygin getting past. So we're on board with Florian Merckx as he first got past the Babalus car. And David Gosner was going to buy into it as well. And there's delight down there with the Gosner family. And, well, Gosner seemingly not happy with P3, is going to go after P2 as well. We'll have to be wary of the fact that Kirill Ladygin fancies the final podium place also. Oh, and the front end wobbles on the David Gosner car. They round at turn 14, and Kirill Ladygin is close to Gosner. Is he going to be able to track him down here and dive up the inside? Gosner goes through and runs wide. That allows Kirill Ladygin to get alongside. Gosner is going to lose out here. Kirill Ladygin goes up, but Gosner fights back. The positions change again. This is great racing from these two. So Kirill Ladygin and David Gosner, as Corinna, Manuela and Thomas look on. Absolutely real ding-dong battle between the two of them here. And this is all fighting over P3. And Thomas O'Rourke has got past Alexis Di Bernardi in the AM category. So Thomas O'Rourke leads Alexis Di Bernardi. How did that happen? Alexis is fighting back now, though. 3 3/4 minutes left in this race. Thomas O'Rourke ahead of Alexis Di Bernardi. On board with Alexis Di Bernardi here, as he's trying to wrestle that place back again. And this is how it happened. Through on the inside went Thomas O'Rourke. Di Bernardi turns in and sees his P1 place gone. And this in replay was this big battle between Kirill Ladygin and David Gosner. Really, really together. And the Gosner family and Eric Prinot as well from the Copa Shell category, all from the MP Racing concern. Watch on as David Gosner has that P3 at the moment, with 2.5 minutes of racing still to come here of this 4-kilometre Valencia circuit. On board with Kirill Ladyshin then. Slight error from David Gosner ahead, but there was a slight error from Ladyshin as well, so the net benefit was 0. So the order now is Bjorn Grossman, who is 15.5 seconds up the road over Florian Merckx, who's P2. Then P3 is David Gosner. Then P4 is the car that we are on board with now, the AF Corsa Kirill Ladyshin car. Here is our race leader then. I don't know whether he crossed the timing line to get 2 more laps in, or whether this will be considered his last lap. Very, very close in terms of when he crossed the timing line, because with his last lap time of 1:40.043, it's about when he crossed the timing line, which would mean he would have to do another lap after this one. Not that he'll be too bothered about that. So 1 more lap after this one. There's Tommaso Rocca leading the AM category with Alexis Di Bernardi in P2 in AM. And a mistake from Alexis Di Bernardi allowed Tommaso Rocca to get into that P1 position in the AM Championship race fight. The 2 leaders in the championship proper, having taken each other out at the very start of this race. Whoa, big sideways moment for Alexis Di Bernardi there. That won't help his quest to wrestle that P1 position back again. Just see from the corner of my eye through our commentary position, Bjorn Grossman rounding turn 13. He will have 1 more lap after this one to complete. Unassailable position in the TropheoPirelli Pro points as Bjorn Grossman. Remarkable and phenomenal success rate that he's had across the Ferrari Challenge this year. There's Rocca, there's Alexis Di Bernardi. We are now on to the final lap of this 35-minute Ferrari Challenge race. There is Florian Merckx, who's P2. David Gosner is P3. So 1 more lap. Can David Gosner try and wrestle away this P2 place from Florian Merckx? There's a heavily damaged Babylos car, which is still running, but running down there in P5, and the last of the pro drivers running. This, though, is Bjorn Grossman, who is very nearly 16 seconds up the road, 15.745 seconds up the road. He has the remainder of this lap to complete before taking the checkered flag. It's been another absolutely masterful drive from the young German. So Bjorn Grossman then for the Octane 126 team. And if he takes this, by my calculations, he becomes the TropheoPirelli champion. And he heads towards the checkered flag now to take yet another win. And I believe the championship, Bjorn Grossman. And look how long it is before we see another car. Here is Florian Merckx, who takes P2. And David Gosner will take P3. Kirill Ladyshin will be P4. It'll be Babylos P5. There is Babylos. And then in the AM Championship, it's going to be Tommaso Rocca that heads home. Alexis Di Bernardi, they finish P6 and P7 in the race overall, but P1 and P2 in the AM category. And that's all the runners finished. On board with Alexis Di Bernardi then, who was on the podium yesterday, P2 in the AM category, and he will do the same today. And, well, some donuts from David Gosner. There is Manuela Gosner. And the crowd looking on. Well, Florian Merckx donuts too. And the man that really should be doing it is Bjorn Grossman, but as is typical of Bjorn Grossman, he is just concentrating on making sure he picks up on the tyres and heads to Parc Fermé. Well, from here, the drivers head off to the Mugello circuit for the brilliant Finale Mondiale event, which I would really, really urge you to consider being at, because it is such a huge celebration of everything Ferrari. It's a phenomenal event. So then, the race classification is Bjorn Grossman, Florian Merckx, David Gosner, the 1, 2, 3 in Pro. And P1 and P2 in AM is Tommaso Roca and Alexis Di Bernardi. We lost Max Blancardi, Alessandro Vezzoni and Martin Nelson, all of whom have got to go and see the stewards at the end of the race. Races.ferrari.com if you'd like to find out more about Finale Mondiale. Is Christian Bertschinger, who is the boss of the Octane 126 team, congratulating his driver Bjorn Grossman, who has been immense this season, absolutely immense. Well, the car has been brilliant, and so has he. As he goes over to thank the team, because each and every one of them plays their part in engineering the car. There is Max Blancardi to offer his congratulations too. And Florian Merckx takes on a bucket full of water from team manager Philippe Barron. Clearly hot in the car, and Florian Merckx takes P2. Tommaso Roca then, the winner of the AM category for Rosso Corsa. And there's Alexis Di Bernardi. Good camaraderie between the two of them. And there's Jacques Diver from TropheoPirelli congratulating Alexis Di Bernardi as well. Shell driver, I should say, and David Gosner there with sister Corinna and their Manuela, and also Father Thomas in there too. Lots of celebrations down there in Parc Fermé. 2 podiums to come, of course, one for the Pro category and one for the AM category in TropheoPirelli. But for now, the cars and the drivers down there in Parc Fermé. Well, it was a very, very interesting race indeed. And here come the highlights right now. Away from the start then, as the lights went green, it was Babylos that got the march on Bjorn Grossman. Could he get his nose in front, though, going into turn 1? No, he couldn't. But he remained stealthily committed to it and did eventually get his nose in front through turn 2. Kirill Ladyshin was looking lively. Martin Nelson tried for a gap on the inside of Alessandro Vezzoni, and both of them ended up in the wars with both cars out of the race. Both of them leading in the AM Championship. Martin Nelson with a slender advantage over Vezzoni, but in the end, both of them out. In the meantime, it got very physical, and Blancardi with problems brought about after that little touch on Florian Merckx, and that saw the retirement of car number 2 in the Octane 126 team. David Gosner and Florian Merckx were battling throughout the race. In the end, it was Florian Merckx that was going to get past Babelis. And then David Gosner and Kirill Ladyshin were all going to do the same, and there was delight down there. But again, it was another faultless performance from the Octane 126 driver, Bjorn Grossman, who took yet another checkered flag. And it was Florian Merckx P2, David Gosner P3. With points awarded for fastest laps and also pole positions too, there has to be some fairly deft calculations, but by my reckoning, Bjorn Grossman has done enough to seal the championship with a whole round still to go. We await the podium, which is just moments away. So here comes David Gosner for P3 on the podium. Then it'll be Florian Merckx P2 and of course Bjorn Grossman P1. Christian Berchinger then from the Octane 126 team sportingly congratulates P2 and P3 as well. And we await the national anthem to play yet again for Bjorn Grossman.
Tell me, you're on camera, man.
Oh, hello, mister. There is the champion.
There is Jacques Diver and Tommy Lindroth offering their congratulations as Gonzalo Goba, the general manager of the Valencia circuit, makes the trophy presentations. Florian Merckx receives his, David Gosner has his, and here comes the #1, which will go the way once again of Bjorn Grossman. Also gets the Pirelli trophy as well. They all get together for the photographs. Florian Merckx, David Gosner and Bjorn Grossman. Bjorn Grossman then having done enough to seal the championship. Of course, the big celebrations will take place at the Finale Mondiale in Mugello. But nonetheless, his dominant performance throughout the season means that he's done enough with 2 races still to be done. Extraordinary result. Still have an AM podium to come, which will only be 2 drivers up on the podium. It'll be Alexis Di Bernardi and Tommaso Rocca. So populated by only 2 drivers in the AM category, because that's the only AM drivers that finished. Tommaso Rocca and Alexis Di Bernardi. There they are. So there's Tommaso Rocca and Alexis Di Bernardi to his left-hand side on the screen. As you can see, he receives the P2 trophy from the CEO here of the Valencia circuit. Now, Tommaso Rocca receives his AM winners trophy. They pose for the photographs. of course, Team Rossa Corsa take the team's trophy. Nicky Cadai on the left-hand side there, as you can see. Photographs and then the champagne. Of course, Nicky Cadai supporting and coaching Alexis Di Bernardi. He's been on the podium a few times as Nicky Cadai in a strong racing career. Interesting hat. So there they are. Congratulations between the two of them, Alexis Di Bernardi and Tommaso Rocca, who choosing to take the champagne to their teams, because of course without the teams, they're the ones that support behind the scenes and perhaps sometimes don't get the credit they deserve. Up next, it is the World Finals, where Bjorn Grossman will be celebrating in true style for having taken that championship, 5th to the 8th of November. Of course, you can catch it on TV. We'd love to see you there as well, because it is an utterly huge event. If you love Ferrari, you will love the World Final event. It is something very, very special indeed, as we take some super slow-mos of those that were victorious this afternoon. It's Bjorn Grossman yet again, and Tommaso Rocca in the AM category. Both of those cars were the winners this afternoon. We've had two great races from Valencia circuit. Until Mugello next, thank you so much for watching from me and the team here. Thank you. Bye-bye for now.